What up, everybody? Today we're going to do another ticket stub video. This one has a lot of meaning for me just because one of these particular shows really changed the way I see music, mainly heavy metal music. What I had thought heavy metal was completely different. I didn't know the underground. I really wasn't that familiar with at the time until I attended this show. But first, in the background, I'm going to do a full review on this album later. This is the new Today is the Day album, No Good to Anyone. And I pre-ordered this, or I ordered this off of their site. And if you were one of the first 100 people, Steve Austin from the band would sign it and number it. So this is 76 out of 100. I just ordered this a few days ago and it arrived already. I want to say it arrived in 2 days. So there might be some left if you want to get on that. I'll do a full review. So far, if you're a Today is the Day fan, I'm going to say this is probably the most diverse Today is the Day album yet, which says a lot considering the history of this band. They've been around since '93. I became a fan when Temple of the Morning Star came out on Relapse. This album's all over the place, but in a good way, and highly recommend you check it out. I'll do a full review, but yeah, it's good stuff so far. I've only listened to side 1 about 5 or 6 times, and I like that. I'm on side 2 now. So next we're going to talk about a couple shows. The first one I'm going to talk about is this one right here, Pantera at the World Music Theater with Sepultura and Biohazard, and that's the cutout from the paper. I think at the time they had these music papers they would release and would advertise shows and stuff. I don't remember this show in particular. I should take it back. I remember Pantera because it was the first time I had seen them outdoors. I really hate outdoor shows, and I didn't know how the show was going to sound, but it sounded great. I don't remember Biohazard. I was never a huge Biohazard fan. The kind of mixing of hip-hop and hardcore just rubbed me the wrong way, I guess. But Pantera always put on a great show. This is, again, when Far Beyond Driven was really taking off, obviously. If you remember my previous video, I had seen Pantera and Crowbar in the Aragon Ballroom. And they went from playing, I think the Aragon maybe holds 5,000. This place holds about 20,000, I think. Those of you familiar with Chicago may know it as Tinley Park. I think it's now owned by a casino. I think Live Nation owned it at one time. But just an outdoor amphitheater type show, which was crazy to see a band like Pantera play there. People were starting mosh pits on the concrete where you walk to get to your seats. The lawn is angled. There were people starting mosh pits there and rolling down the hill. It was just pure chaos. Beer cups were being thrown everywhere. Great stuff. But the next show, or the first show I want to talk to you about, is what is known, or what used to be known as the Milwaukee Metalfest. I attended my first Milwaukee Metalfest. I believe this came out in 1990. This was in 94, summer of 1994. I went because it was going to be Slayer's first show in, what was it? I don't remember, but it was basically a one-off show for Slayer. It was going to be their only North American appearance in 1994. I think they were recording Divine Intervention at the time. This is the newspaper cutout from that. It was, for those of you who don't know, this is an annual metal fest that took usually 2 to 3 days in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's another cutout about Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, Overkill, Murphy's Law, Bolt Thrower, etc. This is an unused ticket. Someone was supposed to go, didn't go. I don't remember how much these tickets were at the time. $50, which was a bargain considering what shows are now. and that's my used stub. Um, what struck me about these shows, I mean, Slayer, Morbid Angel, Motorhead are all big names, and that's kind of why I went. But then if you don't know where the Eagles Ballroom in Milwaukee had a huge ballroom upstairs, and then downstairs was more like a bar. I think it's called the Rave. Still might be called the Rave. They have a smaller stage where the lesser known bands played. And that's where I witnessed Anal Cunt live. I had no idea who they were. I saw them get on stage without a bass player. Extremely drunk off their asses. Apparently, I found out later Seth Putnam was just basically standing next to a keg the whole time before the band played. They came out on stage, no bass player. Seth Putnam got down on his knees and started screaming to the mic. The guitar player was all over the place. The drummer was drumming, knocking shit over, and I thought, wow, these guys are a little different than what I'm used to. And then the crowd wasn't really getting into it. So Seth Putnam proceeded to grab folding chairs off to the side of the stage and start throwing them at the crowd, which I thought was pretty cool. Then he jumped onto people in the crowd and started tackling them and kind of fighting with the crowd. And my mind was, I felt scared, which was kind of cool. You know, rock and roll, metal, whatever you want to call it, it's supposed to be kind of dangerous, right? So these guys were taking the danger to an extreme that I'd never seen, and I immediately started going to all the booths of all the record labels there, and I just signed up for everything I could get my hands on, for mailers, get me on your mailing list. But a lot of other bands were there that opened my eyes. This is the official program I still have from 1994. And I can show you some of the highlights in here. It kind of shows you some of the different bands that were there. I didn't get to see every band here, obviously, because you had to go up 2 flights of stairs to get to the ballroom, and then you have to go down a flight of stairs and another flight to get to the rave stage. And there were bands back and forth, so you had to kind of plot your day out. I don't know that all of these bands played Bolt Throwers in the magazine, because I honestly don't remember every band that played. The highlights, Incantation was there, I believe. Gorguts, before I knew who Gorguts were. The more I go back and look at this, Malevolent Creation, the more I want to kick myself in the head for not paying more attention. That Chaos AD, by the way, was the Sepultura album that had Refuse Resist on it. I remember Nuclear Assault was supposed to be there, and they canceled. I remember that because I was pretty pissed about that. This is kind of funny. Those of you who used to buy music in record stores back in the day may remember Camelot Music. We had one near us, and that's where I used to go buy a lot of my metal. I would just look at the album cover and buy it. It was kind of a mainstream stream place, kind of like FYE is now. I remember Screw played, and I thought they were pretty good, kind of industrial metal. And then this was advertisement from Nuclear Blast and Relapse. Lots of great, what are considered classics now. Amorphous, Benediction, that Disrupt album was great. So what I did is I started going through all these magazines, like Slayer, and every page that had a record label, I would write to them and get on their distribution list. Because I didn't have the internet. I didn't know what was good, what wasn't. All I knew is that all these bands I was hearing were great, and I wanted to listen to them. There's a advertisement for Sounds of Death magazine. I have some of those. I may highlight and share some of my magazine collection with you all. The cool part here was there's history of the Milwaukee Metalfest, talking about King Diamond, Deicide playing some girl stripped naked and mosh around during a Deicide set. Don't really know what the deal was there. Death played there and took a picture with a young kid, so that's pretty cool. Again, I wasn't there, but another funny part, I wasn't at the show in '93 the year before, but for those of you who don't know, this is Keanu Reeves actually had a rock band. Apparently he played bass, and when he played this, he got bombarded with paper balls and booed, but he was still having a lot of fun. So it's cool to go through and look at all these old ads and look at all these albums I remember just freaking out about. Trying to see what else. Here's Earache, Anal Cunt and Disgust advertisement in the magazine. In the back here, there's a schedule I was going to share with you all. This was Friday, August 5th of '94, if you can see that. The ones I remember are, I remember Anal Cunt, as I said earlier, Morbid Angel, Gore Guts, I kind of remember, Oppressor, I remember, Incantation, Gutted. I think that was it for that day. And then April 6th, here was the full schedule. This was the big day, obviously, a Saturday. And again, the concert started at 11 in the morning on a Saturday and didn't end until 2 in the morning the next Sunday. So you can imagine the drunk metalheads everywhere. But I remember seeing Slayer, Biohazard, Screw, Downset. I missed Acid Bath, unfortunately. If you remember, they were on my Desert Island list. Wish I had caught them. Only Living Witness, I don't remember. Broken Hope, I remember. Mortis Gold, Epidemic, I kind of remember. But the cool thing about this show, or the weird thing, I have kind of a cool story to tie this up. Slayer, this was the first Slayer show, like I said, '94, before Divine Intervention came out. Those of you that know anything about Milwaukee know that it's the home of Jeffrey Dahmer. So he was a serial killer there. He had killed 1 or 2 victims just a block away from the show at the, I believe it's called the Ambassador Hotel. Someone can look that up on the internet and fact check me. But so Slayer was cool enough to play a couple new songs off Divine Intervention, and I'm pretty sure it was Divine Intervention. And one of the songs they were going to play was a song called 213. For those of you that don't know, I think this was, 213 was a song about Jeffrey Dahmer. So it seemed kind of fitting that they were debuting this song a block away from where Dahmer killed one of his victims and where Dahmer was pretty much from and killed most of his victims. So that was kind of creepy that they announced, hey, we wrote a song here about someone you all may be familiar with. But the really creepy thing was that show was in Milwaukee. I had made plans with my girlfriend at the time to go to the St. Louis Zoo. So the deal was, I'll go to the Milwaukee Metalfest. I'll come down south, pick you up, and then we'll go to the St. Louis Zoo. So we went to the show. It was great. Drive home, pick her up, head to St. Louis. I go to check into a hotel, and it was one of these shitty, Motel 6 or whatever. And grabbed my key, didn't think much of it, dropped our shit off because we were going to go to the St. Louis Zoo. I went to shut the door, and it was back when he actually had a key, and I locked it, and I looked up, and it dawned on me that we had gotten room 213 at the hotel. So, of course, I told her, about it. I was a young 20-year-old, like, oh, you're not going to believe this shit. And she was like, that's dumb, So, yeah, I heard 213 the debut from Slayer live 213, and then next day I drove 6-7 hours to St. Louis, and someone gave me room 213, so that was pretty creepy. So that's pretty much it for the Milwaukee Metalfest overview. I have some pictures I can share. I think I kept some of those. I have to go digging through my basement. It was just a real mind-opening experience, and once I started getting all these catalogs that I started, you know, a lot of these albums here, I'm Gutted, I remember that album, Propane, My Dying Bride, I remember all these, and I just started buying everything I could get my hands on, and it pretty much has helped mold me into the music fan I am today, especially when it comes to heavy metal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I did go to 1995's Metalfest as well, so I will share with you. I think I still have the ticket stub. I can't see it down here, but I'm pretty sure I have that ticket stub, so look for another Milwaukee Metalfest video in the near future. If you were at the Milwaukee Metalfest in '94, let me know what bands you remember playing. I'm trying to piece it all together, and I really can't. So thanks for checking it out, y'all. I hope I'll try to put some links below if I can find any video footage of the Metalfest in '94, any of the bands I remember seeing, and hope you guys will find something new here in the music realm of heavy metal. So catch y'all later.